You're listening to the PR Wind Down Podcast, the show for public relations professionals who are ready to see real change in the PR industry. We are your hosts, April White and Laura Schooler. Let's get ready to wind down.
Laura Schooler, what's up? Oh, I got like the non-jazz hands, jazz hands. I don't even, it's like scared. What is that? Scared cat? What is this?
You're yelling at me.
Oh,
Look.
I'm not trying to yell. I'm not trying to yell.
I'll tell you what happened. My apartment building almost burned down on Friday. There was like 12 fire trucks outside. I live in a 100-year-old building. It's not my building, but it may as well because it's attached. It's like the same size and dimensions. And that building, literally 12 fire trucks, black smoke pouring out, the 14th floor. They smashed all the windows, so glass is flying out to get aerated. As far as I read, there's only one injury in like an adjoining apartment. I don't know how they got injured, maybe smoke inhalation or something. And this was as I was like going out on Friday night, and I was like, oh my God, everything's okay when I come back. And it was. They, I guess.
But you left anyway and like decided to go out. You're like, what if it burns or it doesn't?
I had a lot of plans. It was like a block away, and they seemed to have it under control. But there was like hundreds of people, on the street, like filming it, like look up there, like crazy. Yeah.
I have so many questions. What were your plans that were so important that you're like, well, either my apartment burns down or
tell you.
Okay.
I was going to a memorial for our former podcast guest, Michael Reich.
Oh, that is more important.
And then to my friend's 50th birthday party.
Also more important.
So the fact I had two things going on at once.
I see.
Was
you're like, there's nothing I can do, and if I stay here, I'm gonna get
this age. So I had to take advantage of it. And like I said, they seemed to have it. And I went to my dorm and I was like, call me if anything happens. Call me if the joint is burning down.
Oh my God.
Every building I live in that has a fire, which goes to show that there's just a lot of fires. And the FDNY, I mean, they
keep
are
busy.
pros. Yeah.
Okay. We have Allie in the waiting room. Allie Ullo, welcome back to the PR Wind Down Podcast.
Thanks.
We're so glad to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Allie Ullo is our guest today, and she is the Lifestyle Group Director at Trust Relations, and she oversees client experience across lifestyle, hospitality, fashion, health and wellness, entertainment, and event industries. She is a total media superstar, rock star, fill in the blank with whatever beautiful adjective you can come up with, and also a resident expert on affiliate PR, which is becoming more and more of a topic. So, we have Allie here today to discuss affiliate marketing, how it plays into PR, how it's changed in recent years, how PR pros can leverage it, how brands can benefit, and what it means for the state of the media, and whatever else comes up.
Love it.
Let's do it.
Yes.
The queen has arrived.
Yes.
So, Allie, I know that affiliate marketing and PR are becoming more and more and more intertwined. Like, when did this come into being? Just give us a really quick, 30-second history of how the hell this came to pass.
Yeah. So I think I got in early on. We all know that PR and marketing is this ever evolving landscape. And if you don't stay up to date, you're out of date and then you can't help your clients. So I'm always sort of searching for what's coming up. It came across my radar probably 6 or 7 years ago. It was sort of a conversation that you would have with clients. If you do this, it's going to really give us an edge. Like, we're really going to be able to get you more press if we have this. To now, we're sort of in a place where we don't even want to take you on as a client if you're not willing to do this, because there's going to be almost no way we can get you product press. Business press is different. But from a product perspective, without having some sort of affiliate option, and that could be that you're on Amazon, it could be that you're on Walmart.com, Target, but if you are not on some sort of affiliate platform like that, or a Share a Sale, an Impact, a Rakuten, something, you're not on any of those, then it makes it really difficult to get press from a product perspective for digital publications.
Is it hard to do?
I think the annoyance, right, is it's like anything these days. It's built for brands with money. It's built for brands who have more of a budget. When you're a small up and coming brand, or you're a startup, or you're someone who you don't have either the personal budget set aside for that, or you don't have funding in some way, shape, or form, it makes it really difficult. I think there's platforms that are more affordable than others, and platforms that make it a bit more approachable for small businesses coming in. But no matter what, there is a budget to be on an affiliate platform, and that's stinky for small up and coming brands. That's a yucky thing to have to know that that's more money that you have to put aside on top of whatever you're investing in your development of your product, the marketing of your product, and now not just having a PR team, but now you have to have an affiliate team. It's just another add-on to the already robust team that you need to succeed in today's marketplace. It's eating into your margin, basically.
Yeah, exactly. What are the kind of margins that they need to be considering as brands to get,
I think,
press?
Initially, having something like an 8 to 10% kickback was great. Now it's really difficult to do anything like with a top tier publisher that you're not closer to that 15 to 25%. And I would say it's usually around 20%. Affiliate partners that you're giving less to are things like coupons and discounts. You don't have to give that full percentage. But when you're talking about, I want to be on Wirecutter or BuzzFeed or something like that, you're looking at a much higher affiliate rate to be considered for their product roundups. And it's huge, right? So if you're also think about being on something like a Wirecutter, where on the low side, say that they're asking for 15% affiliate, and then they also want you to do a special exclusive discount code for them, and they want 30% off. So now you went from not just, okay, I have to give 15%. No, I'm at 35%. Together, I'm at what is 50? 50% of your margin just went out the window. That's not including anything else that might hit as well. So, it really eats your margin. And then you have to make sure you have some crazy margins to be able to play in that field.
It's probably not economically wise in many respects for a startup, small consumer brand.
Yes, it's not. So I would say, I think it depends on the type of business you are and where you're trying to go and what you're doing. But if you don't have that built into your budget and you don't have a plan for that, it could be detrimental because it's eating into your margin so much. I think I hear a lot of brands these days saying, I'm not going to go on an affiliate platform like Share a Sale or Impact. I'm going to wait until I get into a store, or I'm going to wait until I'm on Amazon. They use these other retailers as their affiliate if it's needed. The downside of that too, right, is that all eats into your margin too. That like gone are the days where you're acquiring customers direct to your website without incurring some kind of fee.
It's crazy. Do you have any examples of brands that normally would have gotten press 5 years ago, but aren't on affiliate? Or I'm sure at this point you're not
work with anyone. Yeah, I don't work with anyone who's not on an affiliate. But there are brands that I started with doing affiliate 5 or 6 years ago, and we were smashing affiliate at a 8 to 10% rate. And everyone was super excited to work with the product. We were doing so well. Everyone was including them. Just so much money was being made because that was a margin that you could work with. An extra 10% was nothing to be included in 40 or 50 roundups a week. I mean, it was wild. Mm-hmm. Now we're so happy to get what we get, but it's a lot less because everyone wants more money, and we have specific margins we have to stay in order for that brand to actually make money. And so we can't hit all of the publishers' requests when it comes to affiliate. It's not possible.
And this is all just a product of the media suffering financially and ad revenue not doing its job for them anymore. And this is filling in the gaps, right?
Yeah. And I think something that's even crazier that I'm seeing now is now there's all these platforms and all of these asks that 20% affiliate isn't even enough. And everyone wants CPC, so cost per click. So there's all of these new platforms, and I've even tested on some of our clients and stuff where basically, let's say you can give a budget of $2,500 to $5,000, and you have to give $1.50 to $2.50 per click to be included in the roundup. And then that only works if you convert. So I always tell people, like, don't even try the CPC stuff if you don't know that your website converts a lot and that we're not picking up an outlet that we know has converted at least traffic before, because otherwise you won't cover that cost. So a lot of people will do it because they're like so desperate for press, and they'll spend the 2,500 or the 5,000 and they'll only get half of that back or a quarter of that back because their website didn't convert those customers over. But so that is how a lot of press and a lot of platforms are using that now, is they only want to do CPC or a combination of CPC plus affiliate because they're trying to make money. And I think it's just all media right now is suffering from a not having enough money scenarios. It's just getting worse and worse. It is like a bit of a worrisome thing to think about the state of PR and trying to keep things, quote, organic, where it's truly people giving you honest opinions about things versus just like who's giving us the most money to promote them. It really is a very weird state of time for PR.
It's almost like the way brick and mortar, stores, how that trended. Like, mom and pops were like, see you later, because the Walmarts were opening up down the street. It seems like the version of that.
I know. I'm wondering too what's going to happen. At some point, will it plateau off and then consumers catch on, right? At some point, and will think, what publication can I trust at this point? And then does a publication get launched that says, we don't accept any affiliate.
Right.
And then they become the superstar because people all trust them because they don't take any money for anything. Like, does it flip on its head then? And then publications have to start going that route? I don't know. Or is it only going to just get worse and worse and worse and more expensive? I don't know.
Should we start that publication?
Yes, you should.
Well, and I mean, then the bigger question becomes too, to your point, Allie, like, okay, we only do earned media. But is it still earned media if there's affiliates required, right? Like there's like kind of this weird blurriness happening.
It's very blurry.
And you get all these like, new broadcast opportunities for clients that are paid. So then what happens as a PR?
Ultimately, I think what PR will always remain is you need someone that's telling the story about your brand. And that I think is so much built around PR. And it's what's most forgotten. How many times have we been on calls with clients who have all of the pieces, but when you ask them what the story is that we would be pitching out to media, the story they give you, you're like, that's not it. Like,
I don't know what it is, but it's not that.
So then,
that's not going to make anybody want to go buy your product or whatever.
No.
Right.
So then it falls on us, and we end up really working at coming up with that storyline and figuring it out. We had a client today that we were on a call with, the team and I, and, one of the products we launched isn't working the way we thought it was going to work. And so we brainstormed and came up with a lot of other ideas of how we're going to like switch that angle. And I think that that's what PR is going to always kind of remain and bring to the table, that your other pieces of the marketing puzzle don't always do, because what works in an ad on Instagram isn't what's going to work when you're telling the story to an editor. So with or without the actual added affiliate portion, there still has to be a storytelling aspect. What we do is, how are we looping this into something that's relevant in real life and relevant to customers, relevant to what people are searching on the internet, turn it into a story. And then, yes, you can also, make sure our link has the affiliate link back. But ultimately, I think that's what PR should remain, is the storytelling piece of the puzzle that no one else really brings. Yeah, I think that there will always be a need for PR. That's how people create stories about their life or their brand or their whatever, and make it resonate, is through those stories that we help brands create from scratch.
It's really interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting because I always tell prospects that PR is the only part of marketing that can build their credibility, because you're getting the credibility of the press. But if the credibility of the press goes down because it becomes paid, the whole thing gets shifted on its side. And now it's about storytelling and not about credibility building, or it's about, pulling on the heartstrings of people the same way that great marketing is supposed to, but a lot of times it misses that narrative. All right. Laura, were you going to ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to be crazy. Go ahead.
You were going to be crazy. Okay. So Allie, where do you see things going? And do you have any predictions? And then what are some key tips you can offer to listeners who might be dabbling in this space or might already be in it that they should be thinking about?
For the foreseeable future, let's call the foreseeable future the next 2 to 3 years, I don't see it changing. I would like to think eventually it kind of implodes and we go back to a more earned media space.
Yeah.
Because I think that there is going to become a trust issue at some point. But for the foreseeable future, in terms of the next 2 to 3 years, I think this is what we're up against. Every market these days is pretty oversaturated. And in order to compete in terms of PR, especially when you're talking about product placements, not business storytelling, in terms of product placements, I think you have to be in the game in some way, shape, or form. You have to be in the game if you are looking to scale at any large amount. I think without that, it's very difficult. So like when brands are raising money, I would build that in to what you're raising money for, in the way that brands build their cost for the PR retainer and they build the cost for marketing, how much money they want to spend per month on their ads or all of those things. Like you should be building in for your fundraising, build in when you're looking at the cost of what it's going to cost you to launch, push out, do a big launch. How much money do I have to put into affiliate marketing? Whether it's just the percentage you're willing to offer on a regular basis with the regular relationships you're making with publishers, or for the extra spikes you maybe want to do when you're talking about a cost per click partnership, where you're like, yes, I am dying to be on the skim and I will pay them $3,000 cost per click to be included because I know that converts for me and I want to make sure I'm included in that.
And with influencers, do you usually have to pay for that as well? Like individual social media influencers?
So with influencers, we always recommend affiliate plus a budget for flat fee. Even if it's a smaller amount and you want to just work with micro influencers, no one wants to take on an affiliate only partnership and possibly make no money. Everyone's time is valued and worth money, and affiliate is not guaranteed money.
Yep, that makes sense. I do want to ask you the last question I always ask, which is there anything we didn't ask you that we should have? Or do you have a question for us?
I will say, regards to affiliate, I would love your opinion on it too, because I think it's changed so much of how we onboard new clients and how we decide who we're going to work with or not.
So it's coming from the place that because the economy is in such a weird spot, that a lot of prospects are gun shy when it comes to PR, and they're more interested in things where they can actually track the ROI. And so influencer relations and affiliate marketing are two ways to do that. And so if they get the consumer press where they can track the sales that they got from those articles, they can actually go through and say, okay, we spent this much on PR and this is the amount we got in sales. On the consumer side, it's something that I'm viewing as sort of an opportunity to make PR seem more like a financially viable investment that can be tracked and proven.
Yeah, I think also, sorry, I won't drag on. I think the topic is so interesting, obviously.
Please drag on.
I think something that's really cool when it works right is I have a couple of clients that the affiliate amount that I am able to run via the press hits that we get for them and then the sales that come through those press hits not only pays for the PR retainer for them, but they're making more than that, right? So it's basically we're paying for ourselves. And I think that's super cool. Like not only can we tell you, hey, this publisher is earning you this amount of money per year, we should keep doing more with this publisher. We should keep sending them stuff. We should pay to do more stuff with them because stuff converts with them. But on top of it, you don't even have to think about where the money for PR is coming from because we have essentially paid for ourselves and then some. And that is really cool. It's super cool when you can get to a place with a client like that where you've proven the program to be so great for them and work for them in a way that it's doing so much.
Awesome. Well, Allie, anything else you want to leave listeners with or plug on your way out?
No.
I'm sorry. You don't want to talk about the tea?
My own business, which is also on an affiliate platform.
You should.
Yeah, you guys know. I have my own business. It's called Leaves of Leisure. It is in a tea company that's a luxury tea company that focuses on zero and low caffeine tea, built out of my own journey that I don't drink caffeine. So the flavors are all really punchy and fun and flavorful. I am on an affiliate network. And it's been a journey. It's really interesting because I can't go past a certain point in my own company for affiliate. And I did try the cost per click. It's wild. It's wild to see how it all works. But I do a lot of testing for our clients on my own product, which is very fascinating to kind of like test and learn what's working and what's not.
Yeah.
So,
That's great.
kind of plays
it.
together.
Where can people buy your tea and find your website?
So yeah, they can buy the tea directly on the website, which is leavesofleisure.com. And then I'm in a bunch of stores across the US as well. They're just like small gift shops and stuff, but there's a list on the website.
Yay! I love this. It's so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
Allie, the ever ambitious Allie,
Yes.
who somehow sleeps at some point.
Maybe.
Maybe. Sometimes sleeps.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, Allie. We appreciate you. And we'll see you real soon and hope to have you back on the podcast as well soon.
Thank you guys so much.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. This is your moment. This is your big moment, Laura. The thing you really wanted to talk about.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about it now. Do you want to introduce the segment?
Yeah, you know what I was thinking about, April?
It's so natural, so organic. Keep going.
I keep thinking about the pros and cons of, hiring a freelancer consultant or hiring a big agency or
Mhm.
hiring a small agency. Or on the other side, being a person who works for themselves or a person who starts their own agency or a person who works for somebody else in-house at a company or in-house at an agency.
So what are the pros and cons of, as a brand, hiring
Yeah.
an agency versus an in-house PR person versus
Right.
a consultant?
And then on the other side, what are the pros and cons of being the individual working for or in
One of those three.
right.
things.
So both
Okay.
sides of the equation.
Ooh, I love this. Let's start on, as a brand,
Okay.
what are the advantages and disadvantages of those three options? Hiring in-house without an agency assisting, hiring an agency, traditional agency, and hiring a consultant or freelancer.
Yes. Why don't you kick it off, because you have been all of those things, and
I
I've
have
only
been all those things.
two of those things.
Okay. All right. The advantage of an agency is that you're getting a brain trust of multiple people with multiple media contacts who can all bounce ideas off each other, correct each other if they see something that's flawed in the thinking or the strategy or the approach. You're also getting the advantage of an agency that is leveraging your budget to its maximum extent possible by using multiple levels of people. So you have junior people who are doing junior work rather than somebody who's charging you $100, $150, $200 an hour to create a media list, for example, right? So you've got a junior person who to the agency is lower cost, doing the things that are administrative per se, not to take away from the importance of them, because they're incredibly important to the team. And then you have a strategist who you're only paying to come in as needed and provide top level consulting, rather than that top level consultant doing the agendas and the recaps and things like that. So that's the advantage of that. The advantage of an in-house PR person is that you have somebody living and breathing the brand, sitting there day in and day out, entrenched in every single aspect of the company. And if they're good at ferreting out stories, then you have somebody who's literally like a built-in reporter for the company at the water cooler, at the company party, in a meeting, is going to pick up on little tidbits that an agency's never going to access. So that's the advantage of that. The advantage of a freelancer is usually that the contract terms are much less aggressive than an agency. Also, you're not hiring somebody whose salary you have to pay regardless of how the company performs. So you can kind of have somebody fly in, and if it's not going well, then it's a very easy out, right? In terms of your financial commitment to PR. And the other side of it is that oftentimes freelancers and consultants have fewer clients that they take on than an agency traditionally. The idea would be that they're potentially slightly more invested in terms of their time and commitment and the need to keep you as a client than perhaps an agency. But that's not always the case either, but it can be. It's almost kind of an in between, usually without the financial investment or commitment of either of the other two options.
Right. And you have a contract with a freelancer consultant, whereas you have an in-house person, you can't, I mean, you can, but it rarely happens that somebody gets their salary reduced, right? With a contractor, it is a more of an elastic situation in terms of how much you're paying or how many hours you're paying or how much a project or whatever it is. You can change that over time.
Right. And you might be able to just pay them hourly, so you only pay them for what you need done.
Right.
Whereas an agency is going to require a minimum
a monthly
commitment.
retainer.
Yeah.
I mean, some contractors will too, but
and
an
large,
agency definitely won't. So is there anything that's better or worse than the other? Or does it depend on what type of company you are and what kind of needs you have?
I think it depends on all of the variables that would be specific to that brand or that company. In general, the argument for the agency is more brains equals better results, right? Which isn't to say, again, that your consultant or in-house person might not have a network of friends that they can tap into and ask if something's falling flat, but it's not quite the same as having, a full team that's kicking around ideas and like, hey, I talked to this reporter and they said this, if this is helpful to you. And, so there is like kind of a feedback loop that can happen.
However, people can be part of other online social media PR groups and get ideas.
Exactly. So they could have their own, like I said, friend network or group or whatever, or publicists they're friends with that they bounce things off of when needed. I mean, in general, I would say if you can't hire a full-time PR person in-house and an agency, I would actually opt for the agency. And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased, because I have an agency, but because I have worked on all those different fronts. I think that if you have an in-house PR person and they're just this lone wolf trying to find stories and pitch media, they might kind of burn out and run out of ideas and drink the Kool-Aid of the company. And that's the bigger problem, is that if you start getting too entrenched in the company and I've done this, right, as like a in-house PR director, you can kind of get blinded to believing the messaging that the company wants you to believe, but you're not acting as the third-party skeptic that's intervening before the media provides that feedback, the same way that you would if you're an agency and you're working with lots and lots of different brands and you see this work for this brand, this work for this brand, this didn't work here, this didn't work here. Maybe we can parlay this idea that worked over here into this idea for for this brand. Yeah. So I think if you don't have the budget for both as a brand, I would recommend starting with an agency. And then as you grow, add an in-house person that can manage that agency. Yeah. So, okay. So those are my thoughts there.
So on the other side, what about being the individual who's like, oh, should I start my own agency? Should I be a freelance consultant, or should I get a full-time job with either a brand or an agency?
So I think that depends a lot on your personality, lifestyle, and where you are in your career and what's important to you next. The advantage of being a freelancer is that you can literally do whatever you want, mostly whatever times of day, with obvious exceptions of when I have meetings, when is there a deadline, when are things due, right? Things like that. And you have to be accessible during the day. But you can kind of make your own path and choose your own adventure. And I want to work this day or not this day. And I want to be working these hours or not. You can also choose the clients for yourself. I want to work with this client or I don't. And you're not assigned them. Although I do want to just say at Trust Relations, we ask people if they want to work on the account. Right. But most agencies don't do that. So I would say that that's really fun. The downside of it is that because you're doing it all yourself, you are your own business development coordinator, director, sales team, finance team, HR. I mean, not that you need that, but it's like you're doing all of the things. You're doing your own healthcare. You're doing your own books. You're doing your
taxes,
own invoices, perhaps taxes, unless you can afford a CPA, right? I mean, there are all of these things that come with it that you think, oh, I'm just going to like do what I want. But if doing your own business development, looking for clients, client retention, sending invoices, paying yourself, withholding money for tax, If that is not something you want to do, then you might not love it. And
So what about that person trying to start an agency? Because that you're basically that. I mean, I feel like, well, you could talk about that the amount of work that it takes to get from like point A to point B is huge.
It's huge. It's monumental. It's insane. It requires a level of dedication, commitment, and borderline insanity that I didn't understand, that I have apparently, but didn't really even fully appreciate until I was in the middle of it.
So, but what's the benefit of it?
Of starting an agency or being an agency?
Starting the agency. Of moving from being a solo person to starting your own agency.
Well, you can take on bigger clients traditionally than you could as a solo practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means if they have more budget, that you can do more interesting things. So as you build the agency's credibility, then you can build to the point where you get brands that have more and more budget, which means that you can do more dimensional campaigns for them. Because as a freelancer, a lot of times what I was doing is like, oh, you need a press release. Cool. Right. It's like, I mean, it's not that simple, but it's like, it's these self-contained kind of projects, low-level projects, kind of not necessarily challenging if you're a person that's looking for something where you can apply your creativity to something.
Yeah. And it doesn't really position
it's limited.
Right. It's more transactional, I guess, a lot of the time. Not always, but a lot of the time. Yeah.
And there's not a sense of building to something bigger. It's just kind of like, it's like Groundhog Day.
Benefit of starting an agency if you're you know aggressively wanting to
do more in
career, do other things, see where the road leads you. Okay, and then what about working in-house at either a company and or an agency? I mean, they're different, and we always talk about those two things.
They're very different. Okay, so in-house at a company, in my experience, was sort of the breeziest PR job because you show up and you work during the work hours, and then you go home, and you're not bothered by clients, and you're not stressed about money. You know where your paycheck's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is pretty much self-contained. There are obvious exceptions to this if there's a big event coming up or a trade show. I mean, obviously there are moments where you're going to work
launch or earnings. If you're
and then you're going to have to work till midnight because you're the only person there, right?
Yep.
But most of the time, it's like 9 to 5. You take lunch. It's pretty predictable. Your day is well scheduled. It's like
you have a little more agency, no pun intended, over your day. I will say that some of it could get super political, and you don't have anybody else who really understands what you do if you don't work for a marketing company.
And if they don't respect your opinion, the people that you're reporting to, there's no way to get them to do it.
Because they don't understand what you do or care or whatever. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So that's why working full-time at an agency is better in that regard, because everybody's sort of in the same boat and you all know like the challenges that you're facing.
Yeah. And you have a support network and you can kind of commiserate with other people who are going, up against the same things. And, if you're on a team and a client's being difficult, you can brainstorm together how to, navigate that so that everything is a little bit smoother sailing. And then if you were in an agency that does value work-life balance, then that no longer is one of the things that's a pro for in-house, right? But most agencies are not quite as respectful of that as we try to be at Trust Relations. But at any rate, so I think that the advantage of the agency is if you are somebody who likes your fingers in a lot of things and you're bored easily, it's a great environment because you have lots of different clients that you can touch, lots of people to talk to. You can kind of be a butterfly, as it were, and do all the different things that, hopefully you want to do. And hopefully, work with an agency that puts you on clients that you care about or care enough about. And so that I think can be really fun. And the other thing is if you're not doing biz dev, it's opposite of the freelance life where you're just kind of handed the new client. And so I would say that in-house in an agency, if what you want to do is the work itself, then you get to do the most of that. Mm-hmm. As a freelancer, you get to do some of the work, but you also have to
unless you're super senior at an agency, and then you're not doing a lot of the work.
Well, then you have sort of a similar problem of bringing in all the, like, you're back to freelance world.
Right, and you're managing staff
and you're managing
P&Ls, and right. But so if you're like a mid-junior or mid,
if you're like account director down, then
and
you
you're
just
still
like
going to be
show up
helping
and
with
do the work.
Biz. But your job doesn't hinge on it in the same way
Right,
as if you're an
and you're
SVP
not gonna
or an
and you're not
EVP.
gonna like lose sleep at night if the numbers aren't matching the
Right. You
sales
might
goals.
lose your job, but you can't do anything about it. So
Always the silver lining.
so here's the fourth
The
wall.
wild. I didn't know there was a fourth wall. We're breaking the.
Well, I'll
okay.
tell you that what I accidentally found myself doing most of the time since I have been consulting is
Mhm.
being a consultant freelancer for PR agencies. How about that?
I mean, that's kind of the perfect thing for you because I think you're a person who doesn't want people telling you what to do and you want to be your own boss, but you also are a thrill seeker who wants variety and you get easily bored and you're too smart to just kind of be home alone on the computer.
I do actually also need stability, which throws a whole wrench into the whole thing.
Yeah, that doesn't come with that role.
No, it doesn't. And so that is why right now with, the economy, it's been on, this ride and it's on the ride right now. So I'm still working, with a couple of agencies as a consultant, but it's not what it was a year or two ago. So trying to find the right place for myself right now it's like a whole new world. I'm doing a lot of the work, but I also know more, I've seen more, whatever, you get to a certain age and you just don't even realize that you've acquired all of this knowledge. So it's easy for me to do stuff quicker. We've talked about this before, but also
Yeah.
teach, the teams and work with the teams and edit stuff and give ideas and notice things that, when I was younger, I would have never like put two and two together. But now it's just something that you put together because, you just know and you've lived it. You've seen this movie before with the economy or an election or, whatever, where when it's the first time you're seeing it, you don't understand the context. So I don't know. I mean, would I take an in-house job right now? I might, especially, and it's funny because I did not have a great experience working at agencies when I was younger, but it's because I don't like being told what to do. I think that's
What?
why.
You?
And so now that I'm older and I would be at a more senior level, I actually do enjoy the variety of things. I mean, I worked in-house at a big company for a very long time. And it's kind of funny that I stayed there as long as I did because a lot of it was like, oh, the same thing's happening on the same day, year after year after year. I mean, I did the same thing, not always, but there's a lot of things I did over and over for 11 or 12 years. I think that we grew things and made things better year after year, but it's kind of funny to me that I did that because I'd rather do 5 things in 5 hours than one thing in 5 hours.
Yeah.
And I like sort of discovering things and discussing things and putting things into action. And there's only so much you can do when you're working for one client, basically. But yeah, I feel like I have done it all. I have been every kind of PR person.
I love that. I feel like there's a musical in there somewhere and you're about
I know,
to break into song.
and I guess what I'll say is I have so much more skill and knowledge and ability and being able to see around corners than I ever have. And so I don't know what else I should be doing now, but I should be doing the greatest thing of whatever that is right now.
Well, you're finding it.
We'll see.
You're finding it. All right,
I feel
Laura,
like there should be a song.
I mean,
don't know what song.
I'm actually, I feel like there is a song. I've done it all. I've seen it all. It's not the Alicia Keys song. I can't think what it is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. If it comes to me later, I'll tell you. Did we cover it, Laura? Did we get to all of your?
I think we covered so
like
much of it.
So late now. So I'm like trying to figure out how we wrap this. Thank you for tuning in for the PR Wind Down podcast.
And thanks to Allie for joining us for not only an interesting interview, but the most informative interview in recent memory.
Not to downplay other guests, but yes, remember to submit your own agency stories and questions and share our show with your friends and colleagues. And if you subscribe and leave us a rating, it will help us reach new listeners like you. We can't wait to wind down with you again next time.
If we ever get it right.
Never. It's never going to happen. Are those kissing chickens? What is happening right
Yeah,
now?
it's a glow-in-the-dark rubber ducky with a flamingo eraser, and they're in love. They sit in front of me.
Did you decide they're in love?
Yes,
Okay. What made you decide this?
because they were sitting there next to each other, and they seemed like
Pounds.
nervous, so I
I
encouraged
see.
it.
And it worked. You set them up.
It seems fine.
I love this.
I got them both at this crazy museum in Baltimore. I think I might have mentioned before that John Waters goes to. Thus the pink flamingo. Yes.
Someday I want to see this desk with all the stuff on
It's
it.
not you'd be like, wait a minute, there's like nothing here. How do you pull where do you get all this stuff? There's nothing even here.
I don't understand. And you're facing a window. It's like, where is she? It's incredible.